What's up everyone, welcome back to Workshop Rebuild. Today I'll be working on the John Deere 855. I will remove the front end of this compact tractor, so that means the hood, the front grille. Beneath all this lies the oil cooler, the fuel tank, and the radiator. So I'm going to have a good look at that because I do know this engine has to be rebuilt. So if there was something wrong with the engine, there might be something wrong with the fuel system, the oil cooler, or even the radiator. So that's why I'm going to take this apart in today's video. But if you guys are specifically interested in the 3-cylinder Yanmar diesel engine rebuild, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications because then you'll be notified once that video is uploaded. Right now I'm going to give you guys a close-up view on the front end and then I'll start the disassembly process. As you guys will notice, the front grille on the John Deere 855 is pushed forward just a shade. I will be pushing this back in, but there is a little bit of damage on the grille, so I anyways have to take it off and straighten this out. Right beneath the hood, which I will remove later on in this video, is the radiator. Then we have the oil cooler, and the fuel tank lies a little bit beneath and actually below the radiator as well. So this right here is still the fuel tank. And what I want to do in today's video is take this all apart because the fuel lines are super hard already, and the return line on the other side is also really hard. So I want to replace all of that, and I want to give the radiator a good clean, as well as the oil cooler and the fuel tank as well. I just want to flush it because I don't know what's in there. Once everything is removed over here, I will have a good look at the framework, and I'm going to be cleaning everything up because, as you guys can see, there's a whole bunch of oil around here. The diesel engine was leaking pretty much on every seal. That's what I just noticed, and everything between these two frame rails has to be cleaned up. So let me start the disassembly process, and then I'll bring you guys back once I have everything laid out. I managed to remove the front grille and the hood, and this is what I'm left with. Looking at the front end, we have the fuel tank, which is right here. Our filler tube goes all the way up to the top. This is where we will fill our diesel fuel into. That falls down into the fuel tank, and the fuel tank sits a little bit beneath the radiator, and it pops out right there. So this right here is the radiator. That's one section. And then off to the front, which is between the fuel tank and the radiator, we have our oil cooler. On this side of the tractor, it's very, very oily. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but there's oil everywhere right here and debris. Obviously, it gets sucked in through the radiator because the fan will be on this side by the engine. So looking at it over here, you guys will see the oil cooler is clogged right there. That's obviously not a good sign. That also could have caused an issue to our engine. And this might also be an issue, or the issue, why the engine failed. Looking at the radiator from the other side, it doesn't look too bad, but it always depends on how the front looks like. That's this side right here between the oil cooler and the radiator. It could be even clogged worse, and that would also cause the engine to run much hotter than normally. So I'm not too happy with the front end of this tractor. Everything seems to be oily and clogged. So I'm going to remove the radiator, fuel tank, and oil cooler, put it off to the side on the ground. We'll have a good look at that later on in this video. And we'll have a good look at the top end of this front axle, and then I can probably get to the cleaning, which I will be doing off camera. So I removed everything around the fuel tank, both fuel lines, the fuel line going to the engine and the return line. There were 2 wires going to the fuel sender and also 1 headlight cable, which was also in that area. So I removed everything and I pulled everything out. Next up, I wanted to remove the oil cooler. There are exactly 2 lines and I wanted to remove it, but the oil level is still too high. So what I'm gonna have to do is go to the back of the tractor, which is over there, and I will have to drain all the oil out. So the oil level from the oil cooler will drop down below those connections, and then I can remove the oil cooler and the radiator together. I removed 95% of the oil in the rear end of this John Deere 855, and I brought everything into this bucket. This is used oil right here. The bucket was perfectly clean, and it seemed to me like that oil was brand new, so I might be able to reuse it in the near future. But now let me take off the oil cooler and the front radiator. Doesn't go all over the concrete. On the connectors of the oil cooler, you will see that there are O-rings. I will need to replace these in the near future, so I'm gonna have to measure those and see which ones I need. Now over here on the tractor, the radiator is on the ground. That was already drained previously, but there's a whole bunch of debris on the bottom end. Obviously that will decrease our cooling, and that's obviously not good. Down below you will see there's still a little bit of oil dripping down. This hydraulic line has a little bit more oil in it, so it's just going to drip down a little bit more. And a whole bunch of debris and oil is in the pan right now. Over here on the tractor, there's a bunch of debris. There's a whole bunch of steps on this fuel tank. You'll notice that on the front it's very flat, and then towards the engine it has a bunch of steps, and on each step there is a bunch of debris. It's obviously not a good sign, and I'm gonna have to clean everything up, but I do not want any of that debris falling into that hydraulic line, or else I'm gonna have to clean everything out. So I'm gonna have to see if I can close them off. I do have some blind plugs, and maybe they'll just fit on those hydraulic lines. If not, I'm gonna have to cover them somehow, and then I have to remove the fuel tank. Before I remove it, I'm gonna remove all that debris. Once everything is removed, we'll have a good look at all the parts which I removed in today's video, and then I'll also have a quick look at the front axle from above. I removed all the parts which I wanted to on the front end of the John Deere 855, and I'll give you guys a close-up view on what I took off and how it looks like around the front of that tractor. One of the first things I removed was that front grille. After that, I removed the hood. This is bolted on with 4 bolts, and it has some pivoting points on the front. We have a hood support bracket, which is this right here. It's very filthy. Everything around here is filthy. Even the inside of the grille is filthy. There's about 2 inches of debris right in there. There's another little bracket over here. The oil cooler, which I shared with you guys before, very dirty as well. The front of the oil cooler is dirty by about 4 inches, and that's about 1/4 of this oil cooler. So as you can expect, oil temperatures to be higher since it's not clean. Now onto the fuel tank. This was one of the last things I removed. There are a whole bunch of steps towards the front of the fuel tank, or the back, which is closer to the engine. As you guys will see, there's a bunch of steps right here. There's a bunch of shapes on the bottom, and then the front is actually very flush. The whole fuel tank is dirty. I'm gonna have to clean it on the outside very well, and I'm gonna drain all the fuel and clean everything on the inside as well, because I do not want any debris on the inside. Over there, closer to the post, we have a radiator. The bottom end of the radiator is totally filthy. There is this dampening material, or material that doesn't let anything get close to the radiator. But this right here, what I have in my hand, that's just all dirt. That's about 3/4 of an inch thick, and that's laying everywhere around the radiator. So I'm gonna have to clean out this radiator really well. As you guys can see, a whole bunch of debris. And that pan on the bottom, I'm glad I put that on the ground. There's a bunch that went around it, but all that debris is gonna go back in the pan later on. And I'm gonna share with you guys in an upcoming video how much I removed and how important it is to maintain your tractors. Now, looking at the front axle area, or the base frame assembly, everything is very dirty. This is the bottom end of the fuel tank. We have a bunch of buildup around the perimeter of the fuel tank. Our pivoting point of our front axle is in the middle, right here. The fuel tank has a little cutout on the right side for those hydraulic lines. The hydraulic lines are very filthy as well. There's a whole bunch of debris right in this area. So I'm gonna have to actually clean it up before I share with you guys anything on the front end. What I can share with you guys is the assembly of the front end. So we have our front axle in one line that's on this height. Then we have our steering mechanism, which actually comes off to the right-hand side of the compact tractor. The cylinder hooks up to this pivoting point. Our hub is in this area. And down below we have our tie rod, which goes to the other side. Right there you will see it's connected to this hub. And inside of our axle, since it's four-wheel drive, or it has the option for four-wheel drive, we have our input coming into our front axle, and inside of this we will have drive shafts going to the left and to the right side of this front axle. Everything is sealed off, so I cannot share with you guys the inside of it, but I might have to take off that boot to check the spline, or the connection of the spline, to make sure those are in good condition. And I might want to add a vent to this front axle instead of just having a plug right there. I want to have a vent because I noticed, or I read a couple articles where people are saying it should be vented because it builds up a little bit of pressure inside. So I might have to make my own little vent on the front, but that will be in an upcoming video. I noticed it's not very easy to get this stuff on the front end off. A lot of the components, or a lot of the bolts, are actually metric. Usually John Deere had imperial sizes, so all the bolts were like 1/2 inch or 9/16, sealing off or holding any components onto the main frame, especially on the John Deeres I worked in the past, but this one for some reason is metric. So with all the parts laid out throughout this side of the shop, I have a lot of cleanup to do on this front end of the John Deere 855. It's really important to do maintenance work, especially on the parts that cool your engine. The radiator and the oil cooler were totally filthy, and I bet if I clean those out even more, I'm just gonna have more and more residue all over the shop floor. So I'm gonna have to clean it up, and I just want to suggest you clean your tractor, even if it's an air-cooled engine or if it's a liquid-cooled engine. Head out in the shop, get your tractors ready for spring or summer, because you want your cooling to be on point, and if it's not, you could cause some engine damage. So I don't want that happening to your tractors, and this tractor hopefully will not have the same life it had in the past. Once everything is cleaned up over here on the John Deere 855, I will give you guys an update, but I do know I have some parts coming in for the Yanmar 3-cylinder diesel engine. So if you guys are interested in that, stay tuned for an upcoming video. And if you guys enjoyed this video on how to remove the radiator, how to remove the fuel tank, or even the oil cooler, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, because then you will be one of the first to see upcoming videos on this John Deere 855.